in 2013 that became a topic of interest before the Judicial Service Commission.
I will not recognize Uhuru Kenyatta as the president of Kenya. I can't and I won't. That was a tweet.
Do you still persist with that view?
There is the citizen, Makau Mutua. There is the Professor Makau Mutua.
Chief Justice.
And there could be the Chief Justice. When I was speaking in this context, I was speaking as a private citizen, okay? I was not speaking in the sense in which international lawyers speak about recognition of a government.
1661.
Yes.
The president shall appoint. You are telling us you would have very little difficulty from accepting the oath of office from the President of the Republic of Kenya.
I have never said that Mr. Kenyatta was not declared president and confirmed as such by our Supreme Court. I have said that I disagreed with the opinion of the court, but I respect the opinion of the court.
Why do you keep referring to him as Mr. Kenyatta?
Well, because you can also refer me to as Mr. Mutua as opposed to Professor Mutua.
Nothing.
I mean, or you can even call me Macau because we are friends.
With an 85-page CV, Makau Mutua is no doubt a man of impressive qualification. But is he qualified for the position of Chief Justice?
The distinction in the academy anticipated by 3B is subject to 2B and must have been obtained in a Commonwealth common law jurisdiction. Where did you obtain your academic distinction?
I would like to know what expert advised you in that fashion.
It is not enough that you have a common law qualification.
Yes.
It must be a Commonwealth common law jurisdiction.
Either you are an academic who is distinguished, either you are an advocate who has practiced for a long, long time, or you are a judge who has sat for a long time.
That you are distinguished in Chinese law or Russian law or the law of the aborigines is something that the draftsman has ruled out. You must be distinguished in the law of a Commonwealth common law country. Question now, wait for the question, Professor. Okay. Is the United States of America a Commonwealth common law jurisdiction?
No, it is not a Commonwealth common law jurisdiction.
And I'm happy with that. I can move on to something else.
The interviews continue on the 15th of September, with Professor Jackton Ojwang being the final candidate for the position of Chief Justice. Michelle Ngele, KTN News.
All right, you're watching KTN Prime. Thank you for staying with us. Let's now look at that scenario that is slowly playing out over the impeachment of Nyeri Governor Nderitu Gachagua. We understand there's a session that's currently going on at the Senate. Let me bring in my colleague Duncan Khaemba just to talk a little bit about what's happening. He's been on the screen for a while just trying to figure out what's happening in the Senate. Khaemba, what's going on?
As we speak, the senators now that have really had a very I think busy day, they are now debating on the motion. The motion has been moved by the Senate Majority Leader, Professor Kithure Kindiki, and seconded by his minority counterpart, Moses Wetangula, which is as per Article 81 of the Constitution or Article 33 of the County Governments Act, which basically provides for the removal of from office by impeachment of a governor, in this case, the Nyeri County Governor, Nderitu Gachagua. Yes.
Okay, so as we speak, we don't know which way it's going. We just have submissions on the floor.
There are already telltale signs after they moved. Funny enough, both the majority and the minority did not give their stand. They just moved the motion and took
left
charge.
it as that.
But Elgeyo County, Elgeyo Marakwet County Senator Kipchumba Murkomen has been the first one to bite, and he has said that one of the three counts of actually 3 charges that have been leveled against the governor. Count number 2 that states that a failure to comply with the law. He says that is not a ground for removal of the governor. He has struck that one out. Then he said issues to do with the gross violation, the issues, they are violations of the law, but they are not gross. And then therefore he has already said that he's opposing the same case. Senator Orengo has also said that the evidence adduced is voluminous but cannot be substantiated. In fact, he's borrowed words of retired President Mwai Kibaki and said it's bure kabisa, although he's been forced to withdraw that because that is unparliamentary language. But he says that in terms of what they had, if it was authentic, then it could have been enough to nail somebody. But he says as much as it's voluminous, there's nothing can be actually, there's no substance because they're not authentic. And Nandi County Senator Stephen Sang was the third one actually to contribute on the motion, and he has said that what exists in Nyeri County, there's no gross violation. What exists is a management crisis.
Okay, hold on, I need to hear what my director is saying. Madheka, what are you trying to say? Okay, just go on.
Yes, the Nandi County Senator says that what exists in Nyeri is not a violation of the law, gross as it is, but it's a management crisis. For instance, they are asking, how do you explain that there are about 6 or so county executive committee members that are still acting for over 2 years? So they are saying the governor is actually, there's a problem, there's a management crisis, and interesting, they are asking, why is it that they're reading politics and malice at play? Because they're asking, where is the deputy governor? The reason they are giving is it's public knowledge that the governor has been out of office for a while. That is in public domain, of course, has been having health challenges. So they are asking, why is it that they are hell-bent on actually crucifying the governor and the deputy governor is not anywhere in the equation? So that is the question that are
So let me just speak a little bit your political mind. Which direction do you think this is going to go?
From the look of things, of course, Senator Haji has also contributed to the motion. Busia Senator Amos Wako as well. So far, they are negative. So from the look of things, and you know, those are the legal minds. When you look at the way they've actually lined themselves up, apart from Senator Haji, the rest are lawyers, and therefore, presidents means they're already intimidating other senators, because if legal minds are already applying their minds on the matter and they are saying there's nothing to warrant impeachment.
But even if you don't have a legal mind, you can have your own opinion.
But you know, Linda, this has been happening, and it used to happen even in the previous, in the 10th Parliament and the 9th Parliament. Those are the parliaments that I followed. There is something that legal minds, they usually first of all come and try to handle the matter, bite, I think, much of the flesh. So this one, so far, when you have legal minds, they're already saying zero, and the likes of Orengo are senior counsels, clearly Wako. Now, if Wako says there's zero and is a former attorney general, Kipchumba Murkomen, a lawyer, says zero. Orengo, a senior counsel, says zero. Stephen Sang, a lawyer, says zero. Now, where will you come and say there are grounds? But they've said that they know the politics at play, and they've actually accused the members of parliament from the county.
No, but even the governor is on record saying this, whatever it is that's happening to him in his county, and the impeachment attempt, so to speak, because as we speak right now, it's still an attempt. It's not been impeached per se by the Senate. He says he's attributing that to his political rivals. Yes, that is, in fact, Senator Sang has said that as they are seated, they're receiving SMSs from MPs who are trying to push an agenda, and they are saying, that is why they are saying what exists here is a management crisis, of which they are asking members of parliament to be party to in trying to bring a solution, an amicable solution. I mean, it's less than 9 months. It's less than actually practical 9 months to the next general election. Maybe they are looking at it, you impeach a governor now, you are going to subject the county residents to another by-election. Then after that, in less than maybe 3-4 months, again, there will be a general election, maybe of what use? So that's why they are saying there are a lot of politics, and they've specifically read sort of a riot act to MPs, telling them that in as much as they are members of the National Assembly, they will not direct the Senate on how to do its business. Is that why they refuse to go the committee way?
I think that could have informed that decision. But remember, this is the 5th attempt of an impeachment before Senate, and all the committees that have usually been accused of being actually twisted or maybe doing shoddy work in as much as they are given enough grounds. Apart from Wambora, I think, who was a special case, given that he's been impeached twice by the same Senate.
Yeah,
but the rest, actually, I think that is the reason why they decided to do to go this way and decide that they are going to handle matters in the plenary. I think just to show the entire country that the exercise was above board.
Okay.
Yes.
Two scenarios. If the Senate actually upholds impeachment, he will not be the first one, will he be?
He will not be the first one, but he'll join one who's been impeached twice by the same Senate, but somehow he still survives.
What happened? What happened?
I think Embu Governor Martin Nyaga Wambora is just a special case. Nobody can actually explain how he survived 2 impeachments by the same Senate. But of course, you know, the likes of Kericho, Professor Paul Chepkwony, it never flew. Muranga never took off. Of course, Makueni was another crazy example, for lack of a better word. They wanted to impeach the governor. The governor came and said MCA should go home. So it was like, we either sinking or we save the situation.
We sink together, we survive together.
Yes.
So
then the president said, I mean, it's very early to go that direction. He formed a tribunal which actually advised that a solution should be found to
If he survives, is he going to be the only one?
He will not be the only one. I mean, the Muranga one went there in as much as he had to sweat a bit. He came out unscathed. But I think one who had an easy ride in Senate was the Kericho and Paul Chepkwony. I think that is the governor that had it very easy because to him, I don't know how they'd come up with an attempt to impeach him, but him is the one that actually had a very easy ride. Okay,
politically speaking, if indeed Senate upholds his impeachment, is there any way he can seek redress? Or is this it?
He can. Remember that there are 3 levels of seeking redress apart from parliament. When you go to the other arm of government, the judiciary, you can move to High Court, and then where you fail, you move to Court of Appeal. Where you think again you've not made it, you go to the Supreme Court. Remember that already he wanted to use the shortcut and stop the process, but the court told him, no, you have to appear and be heard. So in this case, should the Senate uphold his impeachment, then he'll start from actually the first level, that's the High Court. And then in the event he feels that he's not been had actually maybe fairly, he'll again seek further redress with the Court of Appeal. And if in the attempt that he doesn't again feel satisfied with the verdict, in the event it goes against him, then there is that a Supreme Court. And clearly you will guess by that time where we'll be, most probably that will be a matter of next year, maybe.
Yeah, just a couple of months to the general election. Jeez. Okay, let's keep an eye on what's happening there. Let's see whether or not the Senate will uphold the impeachment of Nyeri Governor Nandi Gachagua. You'll keep an eye on that for us, will you?
That's what I'm following.
All right, Duncan Haimba, thank you so much. All right, let's now focus on the burial of Kenya's long-serving politician and former Member of Parliament for Narok North, William Ole Ntimama, which witnessed a surprising verbal exchange between Kenya's top leadership as President Uhuru Kenyatta openly told the opposition to sit back and persevere as he and his allies enjoy being in power. Uhuru also dressed down a religious leader as dignitaries and mourners looked on in confusion. The CORD leader Raila Odinga might have agitated the president during his speech, in which he told the president that the late William Ole Ntimama had no intention of defecting to the new Jubilee Party before he passed away. Take a look.
Tujuane ambaye amesema umoja mbele ya maendeleo. Mimi nataka nikuambie Bishop, kwa sababu wewe unataka uongoze roho, lakini kuongoza roho lazima pia uongoze maisha ya watu. Umoja ni kitu muhimu sana, na mimi naungana na wale wote ambao wanasema tuwe na umoja ya Wamasai, tuwe na umoja ya Wakenya. Naungana na hawa sana, lakini kusema umoja bila maendeleo, hiyo ni ujinga ya mwisho. Lazima tuwe na maendeleo. Hakuna mtu ambaye anataka kuishi na umaskini. Vile mzee mmoja ametaka, tunataka maji kwa watu wetu. Tunataka umoja na maendeleo. Hiyo ni point, lazima niseme hiyo. Hakuna mambo ya kukaa na umaskini. Au nyinyi mnataka kuishi na umaskini? Nani anataka kuishi na umaskini? Tunataka kuondoa watu wetu kwa umaskini. Umoja wetu ni wa kutoa umaskini. Ya pili ndio niketi. Ndugu yangu Raila ni ndugu.
Jana kulikuwa kuna maandamano hapa Kajiado, hapa Narok. Watu waliandamana. Baada ya hiyo maandamano, mama alienda State House. Alipotoka State House, akanipiga simu. Akaniambia, ati Raila, usidhani mimi nimeenda Jubilee. Jubilee ina mikono miwili. Kuna mkono mmoja Jubilee ambayo inatufinya sisi kule Narok. Kwa hiyo mimi nimeenda kwa mkono mmoja ya Uhuru tusaidie sisi na shida ambayo tuko nayo kule Narok. Kwa hivyo sisi tunazika mama na bendera ya chama chetu cha ODM.
Ndugu yangu Raila ni ndugu yangu jameni. Wewe achana na mambo ya Jubilee. Jubilee haina mikono miwili au mitatu. Sisi tuko na mkono moja, tunajua pahali tunaelekea. Nyinyi rekebishina nyumba yenu, tukutane kwa uwanja. La wachana na nyumba yangu ya Jubilee. Mimi sitara mambo mingi. Hiyo sio shida. Tutafute hii kitu polepole. Kila mtu nyinyi ni kutafuta, sisi tumekalia. Na hatuna haraka ya kuondoka. Si namna hiyo. Niliambiwa nikiwa Pwani, niliona Mswahili mwingine akitaja hapo akasema, watu waelezwe kumeza mate sio kukula nyama. Kwa hivyo wenzetu, endeleeni kumeza mate, lakini nyama tutakula. Tuendelee. Kwa hayo machache na mengi, nasema Mungu aweke roho ya ndugu yetu, mzee wetu, baba wetu, mzee Ole Ntimama pahali pema, na sisi tutaendelea kushirikiana na kuombeana na jamii.
Mzee tulienda naye State House, alisema amekuja na ameambia sisi wa Masai tuingie kwa serikali. Kama simu imepigwa, wakati alikuja kwa Olenjoy, aliongea hadharani. Sijui kama simu ilipigwa baadaye ya hiyo hadharani. Lakini we want to respect the dead. Lazima tuheshimu watu wameenda. Let us not use politics to demand the popularity. It is important we respect the old man.
We worked together from that time. We have known one another all the way to where we are, today. He was a straightforward person. Didn't want anything else other than to express what he believes in. And I'm asking you leaders, members of parliament, to keep in touch with the elders and to discuss amicably what they knew and what you know together, and what will uplift Maasai people will be education.
The burial ceremony of the late William Ole Ntimama, who passed on, I believe, on the 1st of September. You had President Uhuru Kenyatta there and opposition leader Raila Odinga having a verbal exchange, and of course President Uhuru Kenyatta telling the opposition to sit back and persevere. And of course, Raila Odinga telling the president that William Ole Ntimama had no intention of defecting to the new Jubilee Party before he passed away. Lots of comments were exchanged during that burial. So it forms actually the basis of a big question tonight.
Big Q in association with Fidelity Insurance.
All right, so our big question tonight is not a yes or no answer. We're seeking your comments on the statements that were made today at the burial of William Ole Ntimama, the statements by President Uhuru Kenyatta and opposition leader Raila Odinga. For those of you who watched that burial, you listened into the exchange between the two leaders. What are your thoughts? These are two leaders of the country, and when you listen into some of the wordings there, they're a little bit uncomfortable actually. So what are your thoughts? What are your comments on some of the comments that we had at the burial of the late William Ole Ntimama? Let us know what you think. Tweet us at KTN News, at KTN Kenya as well. Tweet me as at Linda Ogut. It would be interesting just to pick your mind on that exchange between the two leaders. Right, let's stay with President Uhuru Kenyatta and the Saturday episode that saw singer Kevin Bahati pull President Uhuru Kenyatta out of his seat twice and sit on it as he entertained the crowd at Kasarani has generated a lot of debate. Bahati has apologized and State House has assured him that all is well. But what exactly is in a seat? Did Bahati cross the line, and did the president's security slip on the job? Rita Tinina reports.
The presidential seat, figurative for the position of president. Then there is the physical seat that comes with the office. At the National Archives, Kenya's first such seat is on display, handcrafted from mature oak timber and thick, non-fading denim leather. This sturdy seat with a coat of arms was for 15 years used by Mzee Jomo Kenyatta during state functions. The seat has seen better days, but since the Kenyatta era, Daniel Mois' regime, Mwai Kibaki's tenure, and now Uhuru Kenyatta's presidency, the presidential seat has largely retained its design and color, a seat that symbolizes power, statehood, nationhood, and comfort. But that symbol of power and statehood for a moment was given a new face during the launch of the Jubilee Party at Kasarani. Gospel singer Kevin Bahati pulled President Uhuru Kenyatta from his seat, not once, but twice. First, to join him for a dance on stage where he showed the president how to make the moves. Then shortly after, as he sang his second song, he once again pulled Uhuru Kenyatta from his seat, left him hanging as he sat on the presidential seat from where he sang his song Mama to the First Lady. To some, that was inconceivable.
Anakalia kiti ambacho hata escort commander hatakiwi kukalia, hakuna mtu ingine, it is the president.
22-year-old Kevin Bahati says none of it was planned. It was all in the heat of the moment.
Nilikuwa ndoto yangu kumfikia hata kumsalimia. Siwezi kuwa ni juu ya madharau, lakini nadhani ni emotion tu ilinibeba ikahappen hivyo.
Samson Cherambos served as the head of the presidential escort during the Daniel Moi administration, and to him, security officers may have slept on the job on this one.
As a security officer, kulikuwa na lapse ya security kwa sababu kiti ya president haiwekwi hivi pale mahali iliwekwa. Huwa ni kiti ambacho security officer atakuwa amecheck mpaka hakikisha ya kwamba it is secure for the president to sit, and nobody else should sit on that chair.
With current security concerns, Bahati says he was not given any security orientation, the do's and don'ts when performing in front of the president.
Siwezi sema, siwezi wa blame, lakini nadhani iliwashikana wares sana.
And it has some security issues kwa sababu yule mtu anatoka kwa crowd na anakuja kuangalia, hujui analeta nini.
President Uhuru Kenyatta often enjoys a jig here and there. But most of the time, it has been voluntary. So his dance during the launch of the Jubilee Party was nothing new. But pulling the president from his seat was, and so was pulling the First Lady, the Deputy President William Ruto, and his wife Rachel from their seats. But worse still was Bahati stepping on a stool where drinking water for the deputy president is placed.
Unajua mimi niko na style fulani nikiimba nashika kichwa na so hapo unajua nikishika hata ukiangalia video yangu ya mama nikishika kichwa narusha mguu. So hapo nilikapata mguu iko juu ya meza ya maji ya
Bahati says he was worried following the reaction from Kenyans, especially on social media. But he says he can now rest easy after a call from State House.
Kwanza kabla State House i-call, nilikuwa naogopa sana, nilikuwa najua anytime naweza lala ndani.
But Bahati was not the first to sit on the presidential chair. Some pupils have had their moment of fame sitting on the chair during school trips to State House. Difference is, it is not during state functions. No one pulls the president from his seat, and it is with the president's go-ahead.
If the president offers to stand out of his chair, that is okay.
Kenya's fourth president, Uhuru Kenyatta, has somewhat humanized the presidency. And even though State House has assured Bahati that he will not be landing in any trouble, the young artist may have taken his showbiz jokes too far. Rita Tinina, KTN News.
All right, Rita Tinina there, thank you. Now, for the second time in as many days, the trial of 3 terror suspects in Mombasa failed to start because one of the suspects claimed to be deaf and cannot communicate using sign language. One of the suspects also claims to be partially deaf and can only hear if talked to loudly. The court has now ordered a psychiatrist see all the suspects and the 2 with hearing impairment be examined further by an ear expert to determine their levels of impairment. The medical report should be submitted to court within the next 5 days. Even though the court provided a sign language interpreter and a Somali translator, only one of the suspects could talk. Resident Magistrate Emmanuel Mutunga also ordered that the 3 be remanded in police custody for 5 days. The case has also been shifted from Mombasa Low Court to Shanzu Low Court due to security concerns. Okay, so a big question tonight is not a yes or no kind of question. It's seeking your comment on the exchange that was witnessed today at the burial of the late William Ole Ntimama between President Uhuru Kenyatta and opposition leader Raila Odinga. So we're seeking your comments on that exchange. What did you make of it? At Inokat, Jeff says, normalized Jubilee as 2 hands, but President Uhuru Kenyatta disabled it to 1 hand. Okay, I have no idea what you're trying to say. But Collins Denmark says, our problem is that we don't tell it as it is. The president was specific in his word, Ujinga. Others weren't derogatory. Peter Shuku says the exchange of words was to me made on a lighter note, given the facial expressions plastered on the 2 top guns. Odwaro Otieno says the comments were so unfortunate, especially from the core leadership of this nation. At J. Karkita 65 says the president went overboard while addressing the bishop. What happened to respecting other people's opinion? Just your feedback on our question tonight that seeks your comment on the exchange, verbal exchange that we witnessed between President Uhuru Kenyatta and court leader Raila Odinga. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where we take a break. We'll be back. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with KTN News. Now, let's cross borders just a little bit and focus on Uganda. The death toll on Uganda's Kampala-Masaka highway has exceeded 200 so far this year, making it one of the deadliest roads in the world. Here's the thing, it's not the only dangerous road. The Yungas Road in Bolivia is often referred to as the most dangerous, claiming 200 to 300 lives each year. Take a look.
It's one of the deadliest roads in the world, claiming over 200 lives so far this year. The 130-kilometer highway connects the Ugandan capital to Tanzania, Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Dangerous driving, like using the climbing lane for overtaking, causes most of the crashes. Last month, 21 people died in a single accident in the Uganda's Mpigi district.
I was travelling with my wife and 7-year-old boy when the accident happened. My wife died on the spot. Our child is now living with relatives. Is still injured and needs treatment, but I can't provide anything since I'm still recovering. And I lost my job because I can't walk properly due to my injuries.
To try and prevent accidents, police have launched an operation codenamed Fika Salama, meaning reach safely. Since 11th August, they've been checking drivers' licenses and carrying out speed checks. They've also adopted a zero-tolerance approach to bribing, bringing perpetrators to book. But road users say the government should do more to rein in irresponsible drivers.
The main causes of accidents, these are careless drivers and careless driving and people without responsibility. So the government should bring in some organization to educate our drivers in terms of what? In terms of safety.
With a constant threat of death, some have turned to God. Reverend Medad Birungi leads a group of Christians along the highway blessing the road. He believes the presence of supernatural powers is the cause of the accidents.
A lot of witchcraft and a lot of sacrifice was done and the covenants made with these demonic powers that every month people die, they demand blood.
With the rainy season about to start, authorities are in a race against time to prevent a record number of road deaths this year. Trix Ingado, KTN News, Nairobi.
Insecurity in parts of Egypt has inspired an Egyptian student to invest a light and cheap bulletproof vest, which he hopes to develop to a mass production and sell to Egypt's military. He hopes this innovation will be instrumental in the battle against the Islamic State militants in Sinai.
With an insurgency raging in Egypt's northern Sinai province, the country's security forces come under frequent attack. The problem has now inspired engineering student Ramon Ashraf, who is on a mission to try and keep them safe. At the British University in Cairo, where he is enrolled, the 22-year-old is developing a new type of body armor that is both lightweight and relatively cheap to produce. He says that the changing nature of warfare means that security forces need new types of equipment to protect themselves.
The idea came to me after seeing the frequent attacks on police officers and security personnel. The attacks are no longer the same. They don't use heavy weapons like the ones we see in war zones where armies battle with heavy weapons. This means a soldier has to wear body armor made of steel, titanium, ceramic, and other heavy materials in order to provide him with enough safety. This is no longer the case. The war on terror and Cold Wars are based on small, frequent operations performed by terrorists that use lightweight weapons, automatics, shrapnel, explosive devices, such like. Providing the soldier with safety no longer requires traditional heavy armor.
In traditional body armor, steel, ceramic and metallic plates are used in layers to provide maximum protection. But using a combination of chemical additives and adhesives on polyamide fabric, Ashraf says he has reduced the weight of traditional body armor to less than half of its current weight. He says that with minimal layering, his new product can provide protection from a 9mm pistol bullet traveling at a few hundred miles per second. It's a major step away from traditional layering techniques, he says.
Body armor that utilizes this material depends on one sequence, which is placing many layers above each other in order to stop the bullet. What I thought of was to create a composite material. We will use this material and enhance it using chemical additives, which will provide us with bulletproof armor which weighs less. costs less, and is thinner than current models. I created the armor using a method that will guarantee very high efficiency without using too many layers, which will otherwise increase the weight and cost to the manufacturer or those who use the armor.
Ashraf and his team hope to develop the product further so that it will ultimately provide protection against automatic machine gun fire and rifles. Hundreds of soldiers and policemen have been killed in Egypt, mostly in northern Sinai, since mid-2013, when the then army chief Abdel Fattah al-Sisi ousted Islamist President Mohamed Morsi following mass protests. Islamic State's Egyptian affiliate, which calls itself Sinai Province, mainly operates out of the northern Sinai Peninsula, which borders Israel, the Gaza Strip, and the Suez Canal. Militants have also targeted security forces in central Cairo, its outskirts, and elsewhere in the past few years. Timothy Otieno, KTN News.
Let's look at business news now. Analysis of international air travel to Africa this year between January to August 2016 by Forward Keys, a company that predicts future travel patterns, reveals a growth of about 5.6% compared with the same period last year. That research, however, also reveals a tale of two Africas. North Africa, comprising Algeria, Egypt, Morocco, Tunisia, which has seen little growth or even a decline, and other parts of Africa, particularly East Africa, which has displayed double-digit growth. In terms of market share, South Africa is the largest destination with 13% of international air traffic, followed by Egypt with 9%, Morocco 8%, Mauritius 5%, Kenya, Algeria and Tunisia with 4%, Tanzania and Ethiopia with 3%. A report on the doing business environment in Kenya has highlighted Uasin Gishu County as the best to invest in, highlighting reforms that have improved the business climate in that county. The report, seeking to tackle business regulation indicators like starting a business, dealing with construction permits, registering property and enforcing contracts, concluded that Huduma centers have favored business startup requirements. The report, which covers a 4-year period from 2012 to 2016, includes the 2015 Companies Act that reduced the procedural complexity and time for starting a business. The year 2016 saw another major improvement with the abolition of stamp duty on the memorandum and articles of association and the statement of nominal capital. Technology is sometimes referred to as the fifth factor of production, considering how it has helped transform businesses around the world. Social media as a complementary technology tool is now being used to help businesses realize their return on investment. KTN's Joy Doreen Bira is covering the Social Media Week in Nairobi and our reports.
Nairobi is among 6 cities around the globe chosen to run Social Media Week independent. The event is themed around harnessing the power of technology and social media to transform business culture and lives. On the second day of the week-long event, it was clear that businesses are leveraging on technology to grow their profitability, build sustainable and attractive brands.
We have social media like FB. When you use FB, people used to pay normal media almost, a whole car. Now, $30 and you can actually put your advert out there.
If you own a platform, a website, a blog or something like that, you can actually use that to create additional revenue streams other than your core business.
With increased demand for publicity and brand visibility, businesses today are designing websites, creating and managing social media accounts to keep afloat with what their consumer needs are, but also to beat their competitors in the market.
There are even more platforms right now that use video for education. Many websites online that teach people using video.
We have had some very good success on the corporate side, but on the retail side, it has been a bit hit and miss for us.
But while businesses compete against each other online, demand for prompt service delivery and little room for error are some of the challenges that businesses targeting especially millennials face.
Cost of data bundles is very high in such a way that those people who are able to afford data can only afford data for a particular duration of time.
With increased availability of electronic gadgets, demand for quick service delivery is no doubt the new normal. And for businesses to remain on top of their game, leveraging on technology and social media is where the solution seems to be. Joy Doreen Bira, KTN News.
Thousands of former workers of Karaturi Flowers in Naivasha have been left destitute after an appointed receiver manager moved into the farm in a bid to recover funds owed to a local bank. The workers who are owed millions in pay arrears have protested attempts to have them leave the farm, saying they will stay put until they are paid.
Newly appointed liquidator managers have moved into the troubled Karaturi flower farm in Naivasha as over 2,000 workers who have been sacked demand 227 million shillings in dues. The workers camped outside the gates of the Naivasha-based flower farm as the managers, escorted by police and new guards, took over with a view of seeking a buyer for the farm's assets.
We worth 200 million shillings. You only 2,400 employees. Sasa tuko na haki ya kujua ni nini ambayo inaendelea. Na kama wanaona kabisa kwamba wewe ukafungua kazi, then tupate kujua pia ya kwamba hii kazi yafunguliwi, pesa yetu mtapata kwa njia hii.
This comes even as a humanitarian crisis hit the camps hosting the sacked workers after water and electricity supply was disconnected. Karaturi Farm was placed under receivership earlier this year and the workers sent home over a debt that the management owed to a local bank. Addressing the workers, Kenya Plantation and Agricultural Workers Union representative in Naivasha, Ferdinand Juma, said that they are in darkness over the workers' fate. He adds that they are ready to hear what the new receivership managers have to offer to the workers who have undergone untold suffering since the dismissal.
Ile kitu nataka hapa ni information. Na information ni kuwa sisi tuko hapa kama one of the creditors. Sisi tuko na stake hapa. Yale maneno yenye mnaongea sisi tuko upande gani? So tuko hapa na tumeona dalili kweli.
Juma adds that the situation has worsened following the move to cut off water and electricity supply to the workers' living quarters, the fear being an outbreak of diseases. The farm chief shop steward Samson Ouda Adayo says that the 6 months after the farm was put under receivership have left the farmers in the dark regarding their fate as they continue to suffer.
Tumeumia, watoto wetu wako kwa nyumba, macho sasa haifagiliwi, tuko na shida zaidi. Maji naye imekatwa, tuko na shida. Sasa hatuwezi tukaendelea kukaa tu kwa hizo manyumba kwa maana mwishoe itakuwa ni kwamba tutoke.
A senior police officer who addressed the workers called on them to keep off the Moi South Lake Road as the new managers address their issues.
Let's look at sports now. On Kenya's visually impaired athlete Samuel Kimani completed a double on Tuesday, adding 1,500 meters gold to the 5,000 title he won at the ongoing 2016 Rio Paralympic Games. He beat multiple world champion Oder Santos of Brazil to silver medal. After missing the 2016 Rio Olympics, Mwamba's Sinaida Aura, together with Cynthia Camila, returned to the team that is expected to do duty for the country in the 2016 Africa newly signed Homeboys players. Janet Otieno, Rachel Mbogo, Sheila Shajira plus joins Mwamba duo of former captain Doreen Remor and Celestine Masinde. Kate Abilia will skip her side with KCB's Philadelphia Orlando deputizing. Lionel Messi scored his 6th Champions League hat-trick as rampant Barcelona thrashed Celtic 7-0 in their opening Group C match. Elsewhere, Bayern Munich began their bid for a 6th European Cup title by hammering Champions League debutants Rostov 5-0, while Arsenal secured a 1-1 draw against Paris Saint-Germain. That's sports, and that's where we're almost wrapping it up on KTN Prime, but not before we look at the question of the day. We're actually looking for your comment on the verbal exchange that was witnessed today between President Uhuru Kenyatta and opposition leader Raila Odinga. So Sylvia Koko says, state funeral has turned into a battlefield for the government and opposition. Good politics, but to the wrong crowd, especially at a funeral. Reverend Olang says the game of politics is best at public scenes. At Jenkins Kimia says, I think the president's tone on the bishop was too harsh, but politically on his rival sounded normal. What Eliud says that the verbal exchange was and is still unacceptable. And finally, at Frank_Riziki says the verbal exchange is just to divide the Mwananchi. These guys are actually friends when they go back home. That's a good note to end this conversation. Thank you so much for watching KTN Prime. Have a good night. I'm Linda Ogutu.